Seeds of Revolution, Part 1 of the American Revolution. Table of Contents. The War Begins. The war begins. In Boston, General Thomas Gage, the commander of the British troops, became alarmed when he heard reports of colonist weapons stored at Concord, about 20 miles west of Boston. He sent British soldiers to take control of the weapons on the night of April 18, 1775. Gage also planned to arrest the leaders of the rebellion, Samuel Adams and John Hancock, who were in Lexington, a town not far from Concord. A patriot doctor, Samuel Prescott, found out about Gage's plans and warned the militia that the British were coming. On the way to Concord, the British soldiers encountered a group of 70 militiamen waiting for them on the village green in Lexington. The British soldiers tried to walk past the militiamen, but an unordered shot rang out. No one is sure which side fired the first shot, but that shot started the Revolutionary War. It would become known as the shot heard round the world. In the fighting that followed, 8 militiamen died and 10 were wounded. The British continued on to Concord. The truth about Paul Revere's ride. Bostonian Paul Revere is famous for warning the troops at Lexington and Concord that the British were coming. But that's a tall tale. It is true that he sent a spy to watch the British soldiers. The spy was to signal which direction the British were marching by hanging 1 lantern or 2 lanterns in a church tower. If the British soldiers traveled by land, 1 lantern would be hung. If they were to cross the Charles River, 2 lanterns would be hung. Revere saw 2 lanterns in the church tower that night. Revere traveled by horseback with William Dawes from Boston towards Concord to warn of the advancing British soldiers. Samuel Prescott joined the 2 men. British officers stopped Revere and Dawes, but Prescott escaped, and he was the one who carried the warning to the militiamen. The British destroyed some supplies in Concord, but the Americans had hidden most of their weapons. Patriot leaders Hancock and Adams escaped arrest. Militiamen arrived at Concord in large numbers. They attacked the exhausted British soldiers at Concord's North Bridge and continued the attack the next day as the British soldiers began to march back to Boston. The soldiers were retreating from the fight. The militiamen hid behind trees and stone walls to fire upon the lines of British soldiers. The professional British soldiers were humiliated by their defeat at the hands of a ragtag group of quickly trained colonists. At Lexington and Concord, 273 British soldiers and 93 militiamen died. The Revolutionary War had begun.